Every year, millions of pounds of tomatoes are wasted, thrown away before anyone has the chance to enjoy their juicy, vibrant flavor. In fact, studies estimate that nearly half of all tomatoes purchased by consumers end up in the trash, most often due to improper storage. Imagine the difference we could make, both for our wallets and the environment, if we simply learned how to store tomatoes and other fresh produce correctly. Today, let's uncover the secrets to keeping your tomatoes and your other fruits and vegetables fresh for longer, maximizing their taste and minimizing waste. Storing fresh produce might seem simple, but it's actually one of the most important steps in making the most of your grocery haul. When you store your tomatoes and other fruits or vegetables the right way, you preserve their nutrients, flavors, and textures. This not only gives you more time to enjoy your food, but also helps prevent food waste, saves you money, and reduces your environmental impact. Whether you're an avid home cook, a gardening enthusiast, or just someone who wants to keep your produce fresher for longer, understanding how to store tomatoes and other fresh items is a skill worth mastering. Let's begin by looking at some common mistakes people make with tomatoes and other produce. One of the biggest errors is storing tomatoes in the refrigerator as soon as you bring them home. While it's tempting to toss all your fruits and vegetables into the fridge, cold temperatures can actually damage tomatoes' delicate cell structure, leading to mealy, flavorless fruit. Another frequent mistake is keeping tomatoes in sealed plastic bags or containers, which trap moisture and encourage mold growth. Some people also store all varieties of tomatoes together, not realizing that different types may have different needs. Finally, storing tomatoes alongside ethylene-producing fruits, like bananas or apples, can cause them to ripen and spoil much faster. So, what are the best practices mommy need for storing tomatoes? First, consider the stage of ripeness. If your tomatoes are still firm and a bit green, leave them out at room temperature, away from direct sunlight, and stem side down. This allows them to ripen naturally, developing their full flavor and color. Once they're fully ripe, use them within a couple of days for the best taste. If you need to keep ripe tomatoes longer, you can refrigerate them, but there's a trick. Bring them back to room temperature before eating. This helps restore some of their original texture and flavor. For cherry and grape tomatoes, the same principles apply. Keep them at room temperature until they're ripe, then refrigerate if you need a few extra days. Humidity also plays a role. Tomatoes prefer a moderate humidity level, so avoid placing them in the crisper drawer unless you're trying to extend their shelf life. If you do refrigerate, store them in a breathable container or loosely wrapped in paper towels. This helps absorb excess moisture and prevents condensation, which can lead to spoilage. Different tomato varieties may have slightly different needs. Heirloom tomatoes, for instance, tend to be more delicate and should be handled gently. Roma or plum tomatoes are a bit sturdier and can last a day or two longer at room temperature. Regardless of the variety, keep tomatoes out of direct sunlight and avoid stacking them on top of each other, as pressure can cause bruising. How about other common fresh produce? Let's look at a few tips for maximizing the freshness of your fruits and vegetables. Leafy greens, like spinach or lettuce, thrive when washed, dried thoroughly, and stored in a breathable container with a paper towel inside to absorb moisture. Root vegetables, such as carrots and beets, prefer a cool, dark place, like a pantry or root cellar. Remove the leafy tops before storing to prevent them from pulling moisture from the roots. Cucumbers, peppers, and eggplants do best at slightly cooler room temperatures, away from ethylene producers. Berries should be sorted, removing any spoiled ones, and stored in a container lined with paper towels. Avoid washing until you're ready to eat them. Herbs can be treated like flowers. Trim the stems, place them in a jar of water, and cover loosely with a plastic bag. Store in the fridge for longer-lasting freshness. Now, let's reveal the most effective method for keeping tomatoes fresh longer. A tip that's simple but transformative. The key takeaway is this: store your tomatoes at room temperature, stem side down, until they're perfectly ripe. Only refrigerate if absolutely necessary, and always return them to room temperature before eating. For cut tomatoes, wrap them tightly and refrigerate, but try to use them within a day or two. This method preserves the natural sugars, prevents mealiness, and keeps flavor at its peak. By following this single practice, you can dramatically extend the life of your tomatoes and enjoy them at their best. To recap, here are the main points we've covered today. Tomatoes are best stored at room temperature, away from direct sunlight and ethylene-producing fruits. Only refrigerate ripe tomatoes if you need a few extra days, and always bring them back to room temperature before eating. Avoid storing tomatoes in sealed plastic bags or containers that trap moisture. When it comes to other produce, pay attention to individual needs. Leafy greens prefer breathable containers, root vegetables like cool, dark places, and berries last longer when dry and sorted. Understanding these simple but effective storage techniques can help you make the most of your fresh produce, reduce waste, and save money. Proper storage isn't just about keeping your food fresh. It's about honoring the effort that goes into growing, harvesting, and transporting each tomato, carrot, or berry. By taking a few extra moments to store your produce the right way, you're making a choice that benefits your health, your budget, and the world around you. Next time you bring home a bag of tomatoes, remember these tips and enjoy every bite at its peak flavor. If you found these tips helpful and want to learn more about making the most of your kitchen and your groceries, don't forget to subscribe. There's a world of fresh, delicious possibilities waiting for you just around the corner.